And we welcome you to episode number 99 of the Seleção podcast, a proud partner of Portugal.net. My name is Danny Pinto. I am your host. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again as we have reached the final, once again, of the Nations League. It's fourth iteration. Portugal now in its second Nations League final. And we take on our Iberian neighbors, Spain, in the final on Sunday. As we are recording here on a Friday morning here in California, Friday afternoon for our next guest, who is Eric, the Portuguese Hammer, Vieira. But before we bring Eric on, just a reminder, we won on Twitter, on X, whatever you'd like to call it. We have about a 25-minute live chat that we did after the Germany Portugal match, where Portugal won in the semifinals 2-1. Love doing spaces. Love doing getting the interaction and kind of like the radio format of having callers talk and stuff like that. So check that out. We'll put it in the link of this episode as well, both on YouTube and on any of the podcast platforms that you guys use. But it was a lot of fun getting to get everyone's thoughts on that. Was able to do it while on vacation with the family. Was doing it poolside. It was very cool, very, very Southern California, as they would say. But a lot of fun doing the spaces after the 2-1 victory, and then of course we're going to be previewing the Spain final here in just a few seconds. But again, Portugal.net is our wonderful partner. Selecaopod.com is our wonderful website. You can follow us on Twitter, on X, on Instagram, at Selecaopod, Facebook.com/Selecaopod. Email the show, selecaopod@gmail.com. And I'm getting a little choked up because it's a final. But please, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like button. That way our show is more visible on that platform, as well as subscribing and leaving a comment on any of your podcasting platforms, audio-wise, that you guys listen to, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of them. Just go ahead and do what you can freely and for free to support the podcast. All right, without further ado, the man's been waiting for so long to get back in here. We say hello once again to the Hammer, Eric Vieira. What's up, sir?
Bon dia. How's it going? It's good to be back. It's our yearly. This is the beauty of international duty. We're not consistent, every week or something like that, but we get back together, and Portugal's in a final. We're back. We're so back.
We are so back. How is everything going on with the Hammer? How are things? I know that we're on summer break, are we not?
Yeah. For work in education. So for those all the haters out there who say we get a summer break, I say got two words for you, and I'll leave it at that. So I get to enjoy my break, get to spend time with the family, time with the kids. So I can't complain right now. Right now we're on summer break, enjoying the time, like you mentioned, poolside. A Twitter space talking about a Portugal win, poolside. Life's good. Oh. So again, I can't imagine things being much better right now. So it could be better. It could be Southern California weather, not North Texas weather. So we're dealing with tornadoes and thunderstorms even here in early June. But the weather could be better. But other than that, if I'm complaining about the weather, life is good. Obviously, on the other podcasts that I cover the LA Galaxy, not their greatest start coming off MLS Cup win, and then a record-breaking losing streak, or a winless streak, excuse me, not a losing streak, but a winless streak. So in Galaxy land, MLS land, not so fun for me right now, but sometimes that gives you more to talk about. So I'm kind of nice to be here, to talk about a Seleção, talk about some winners, talk about a final. That's going to be a little bit of a different pace for me, which is nice.
Hey, come out to the Cali Classico on June the 28th at Stanford Stadium.
There it is.
Your San Jose Earthquakes take on the LA Galaxy.
All right. Show, the yearly pilgrimage up there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Always a pro, Danny.
All right, buddy. Well, let's get right to it. Portugal do make the final. They beat Germany in Munich. That should not go unnoticed. But a 2-1 victory against Germany. Portugal will take on Spain, who beat France yesterday 5-4. up 5-1 with about 30 minutes to play, Eric, and then France made it very, very interesting, but Spain do eke it out at 5-4, and the Iberian final, the first ever Iberian final on the senior level, takes place Sunday in Germany. Let's obviously talk about Portugal first. I'll give you your what's the word when a plane is a runway. There it is. I'll give you the runway. All these crazy words. I'll give you the runway here. What was your thoughts on the match and the win against Germany just a couple of days ago?
Well, obviously, I can't be happier than getting a win. It doesn't get any better than that. Getting a win, like you said, in Germany, that's not to go unnoticed. Playing in not a neutral stadium, but when you're at the opponent's home, that always adds a little bit something extra. But you have to also give credit to the traveling support. Portugal historically travels well around Europe when they have their supporters and lovers of the national team there. So there was moments towards the end of that game where it sounded like they were playing in Lisbon. It was they were loud, they were raucous, and they really kind of had their impact on the game the way Portugal was playing. But in terms of the play on the field, I don't know if this is hyperbole, if we're too close to it, I felt like we saw Portugal take a leap in this game. In previous matches, a complaint that I've had with the Portuguese team is you go down a goal, you get some bad calls from a referee, and then things just start to implode from there, and things go wrong. Roberto Martínez, when they're in qualifying and they're on this playing teams that have quote unquote lesser level, then they kind of imprint themselves on the game and dominate these games. But when they play more competitive teams, you kind of see Portugal fall either down a level or reach a frustration point. And I felt like Portugal going down a goal to what I felt like was a questionable call on the goal, the offside decision that was not an offside. I felt he was offside and he impeded on the play. I felt like it's not clear in terms of what the rules are. I felt like that should have been a call. So then you get some fouls and you say, okay, Portugal's down a goal. They're getting some hard done by some calls. Are they going to be able to figure out? And they do. And Roberto Martínez with his subs, Seleção making the impact off the bench. He's everything that you want in terms of a spark plug. So to see him get the moment of individual brilliance to get the goal, that was great. And then of course our captain, CR7 getting the tap in goal. Say what you will, the Adam's apple almost caught us offside there. He was so close with that VAR replay there. But I felt like we saw a different Ronaldo in this game too. What's been our complaint? I think we've talked about it in this show the last year and a half, 2 years. Ronaldo, the team is catering to him. He's taking over the game in a bad way where he's making it about himself. I felt like you saw the Portugal team not defer to him as much as they did in previous games. And that's exactly what they need. Ronaldo as a number 9 to just go in and be the garbage man and clean up those tap-in goals. That's what you want. That at this level in his career, that's exactly what you want from Ronaldo. So to see them come back from a goal down, not implode on themselves, have the rest of the team not defer to Ronaldo and still have Ronaldo leave his mark on this match. It's a perfect performance to me outside of conceding a goal. But even that goal, I think it was questionable. They were able to withstand, the German, offense, what they brought. So I thought it was a near perfect performance.
Yeah, I think the response is what I am most thrilled with because I mentioned this in the spaces. I look back at the Euros in 2021 and the game against Belgium in the round of 16 when we went down 1-0, and I believe that was right before the half, if not right after the half, but it was similar to the Germany game here. What was lacking in that game was obviously, we all of a sudden wake up, which we normally do against a squad of equal or higher caliber. But the finish or the quality at the very end was lacking. That was not the case against Germany, and obviously the stroke of genius from Roberto Martínez in terms of the substitutions was felt right away with Vitinha, with Nelson Semedo, and I'm blanking on the third one.
Oh, Seleção.
Oh
right?
yeah, Jesus, yeah. Hello, yeah.
The most obvious one.
The most obvious one, yes. Eric, maybe you should be hosting this show. But
It was too obvious, is what it was.
yeah, it was too obvious. But the thing that I thought there was like, okay, I kind of got the reasoning for sitting Vitinha to start just to give him fresher legs. In the late first half, early second half. I mean, I wouldn't have, but I understood. And it kind of was like it was the perfect plan in retrospect because one, it worked, but two, you could just see he was fresh. He As soon as he came on the field, he commanded the ball. There was a diagonal ball he played to Francisco Seleção, like from the other side of his 18 to, I would say, a little bit past midfield on a dime to Conceição, that led to Conceição's almost near second goal. And it's like, this is a guy who is as confident as any player right now in the world, which is something in the midfield Portugal's been lacking, not in terms of quality, but in terms of confidence. And I think having him be part of the midfield going forward is going to be so important for the success of this national team, both on Sunday and in the World Cup, and as long as he plays in the middle of the field for the Seleção. But him, I thought Conceição, and I don't know if it's a guy that needs to start because I don't know how much he can play that way for 90 minutes, but that's a dude who is not afraid of the moment. That's a guy who is not afraid to make a mistake and then go right back at you. He is one of the few players I think that the Seleção has with a killer instinct. And I think that's been lacking a little bit with this national team for a little bit too.
I'll add the word
fearless.
Fearless also.
Yeah.
I think last summer when we were talking about Euro, he was one of the fringe players. But then when you saw in some of those friendlies leading up to it, like, well, we have to call this guy up with just the heart. You hate this. That's not really immeasurable, but you see it in the way he plays. He plays with a fearlessness, and why I like to use that word, just kind of, always unafraid to move forward. And I think that is something that has been missing. And I think I agree with you that I don't think he should be a starter. I think keeping him in your back pocket, maybe figuratively and literally, since he's not a tall man. But again, keeping him as your super sub, as that spark off the bench, that's where you have the luxury having the talent that you do in the Portuguese national team, where you can spring him loose for 30, 40 minutes and he's going to go after tired legs. That's exactly how you want to use him at this point.
Yeah, we're talking with Eric Vieira of the Galaxy, or Corner of the Galaxy podcast. He's kind enough to join us once again on the Seleção podcast. It's episode number 99. We're approaching 100. I hope you got your invitation for the gala that we're going to have.
You got to wear tux and tails. Is there a formal event for the next one?
I got a top hat, my friend. I don't know how the headphones are going to fit, but I got a top hat. But let's go back to the beginning. When you saw the starting 11, what were your initial thoughts? Because I saw the names and I'm like, okay, all right, give Vitinha's not in, but like, wait a minute, is that João Neves playing right back?
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the initial 11? Because I know for me, I was like, okay, maybe Martinez knows he's on his way out and he's gonna fiddle with something here, but I would say for as genius as the substitutions were, I would say the starting 11 left a lot of heads being scratched.
Yeah,
I'm guessing you were saying in that same camp.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Again, this isn't great pod where I don't zag the other direction and say I totally agree with Martinez's decision. I was with you. Seeing João Neves on the right back position made me scratch my head. What does he know that we don't know on why he put him in that position? To be fair to Neves, I don't think he made any terrible mistakes that put Portugal in a bad position. So you could say it worked in that regard. But I think when we saw what Spain can do offensively, and I think for the next match, you do want to start Smith out there, to have a proper right back, or Dalot, whoever he chooses to go with. So he may have seen something in that German national team to where he felt like Neves would be good in that spot, and Neves being a younger player, maybe adaptability is something that works for him, and he was able to make it work. But I did kind of leave myself scratching my head again to be bad pod and agree with you wholeheartedly on the Vitinha thing as well. I understood why he didn't start coming off the Champions League final, just winning that and wanting to have some fresh legs, but he absolutely needs to be on the opposite of Conceição. He does need to be in your starting lineup. There was a moment that kind of was going semi-viral of Vitinha in the Champions League final where he starts the play back on, near his own 18 on defense, is involved in several passes in the lead up to it, and then gives the final assist on the pass to score a goal for PSG. And that, to me, epitomizes exactly what he brings. To me, he feels like he's doing everything in the Portuguese national team midfield that we thought Bernardo Silva was going to do. We thought Silva in the middle was pulling the strings, that he was going to be this type of guy, but for whatever reason, those performances for Bernardo Silva haven't worked out. But it looks like Vitinha is that guy who is going to be the maestro pulling the strings, and it's going to work out perfectly. So I think chess moves, João Neves at right back worked. Not starting Vitinha worked because you're playing in the final at the end of the day. So we'll see what changes he makes. But you can't say it didn't work if you got the results at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's sometimes you look into a result, or you look into or a bad decision, quote unquote, doesn't bite you in the butt. I would think that with the match against Spain, that we would not see João Neves play right back.
Yeah,
I'm guessing. I think Nelson Smith or
safe bet.
While you were eloquently discussing your thought there, I'm looking to see if there was any kind of injury I mean, obviously Nelson Smith came on for or in the second half. Diogo Dalot did not play, but I would assume that at the very least we're looking at a Nelson Smith right back assignment on Sunday. But again, we're not Roberto Martínez.
Yeah, but the sub also signals that if his first choice was Dalot, then Dalot would have been first off the bench for Neves. So I think Smith that's the card that's been played. That's most likely you're going to see in that starting right back position come Sunday.
Speaking of decisions, speaking of Roberto Martínez, do you think a decision has already been made on his future?
Oh, that's a tough question. You're asking me to get into the minds of the federation. I think so. I think a year out from a World Cup, unless things looked really bad, almost like the opposite, where if Spain would have held on to that lead against France, where if it ended 5-1, 5-0, if you saw that type of result against Germany, I think the federation has some questions to move swiftly, knowing that a World Cup is coming in exactly a year. But I think right now he made it past the semifinal mark. He's going to play in a final against Spain, the top team in the world. And if you lose that game, I don't know that you could say, well, anyone in the world going up against Spain is not going to be a favorite. So I think if a decision was going to be made, this win in the semifinal kind of solidified his job, at least for the next year. And I think you'll see him coaching this Portuguese national team in the World Cup next year. So I think it could have come down to this. I don't think you win a Nations League or are in a Nations League final and then go and fire your coach unless something goes horribly off the rails in World Cup qualifying. But given their group, I don't imagine, and the amount of teams that are going to qualify, I don't imagine that that's going to be an issue.
It's funny you mentioned that because we're recording this on Friday, June the 6th. You mentioned winning a trophy and then getting fired. I mean, that's exactly what just happened to Tottenham manager.
But they did finish 17th, to be fair.
But yeah, to be fair, they did finish right above relegation. But I was talking on when I was doing the Spaces thing. It's like you can't fire him based on the Germany game, but he's not being judged on the Germany game. He's being judged on the quality of the play that he's been tasked to watch over and manage since 23. So I think that Pedro Proença, the president of the FPF, in speaking with some of the folks that cover this team, and reading some of the things that I've read in the last couple of days, it does seem like he kind of wants to make his mark on this federation as the president. And I used this analogy a couple of days ago. It's like you have a recipe, you have the ingredients. Now, if Eric or I are making the recipe, and we're going up against a what is assumed to be a 5-star Michelin chef,
So like a Guy Fieri. Not the
yes.
first name that popped in your head.
Yeah, or maybe Buddy the Cake Boss. But I think Pedro Proença is not convinced that Roberto Martinez is the guy to get the most out of his ingredients, and a new chef needs to be inserted and hired. Now, I don't know that new chef, rumored to be either Jose Mourinho or Jorge Jesus, and even mentioned Sergio Conceição now that he's available after being let go by AC Milan. I don't know if those are the guys that are going to push us through, but I would be hard pressed to see Roberto Martinez be fired if he beats Germany in Germany and beats who I think is the best team in the world, Spain, in a final. Now, again, 2 matches do not make a career in terms of being the right guy. I mean, Fernand Sanch stayed a lot longer than he probably needed to be based off of 1 win in the 2016 final and maybe even the first Nations League final. But I think you have to make a decision before you need to, or before you have to, I should say. And I've used this analogy, and maybe you've heard it. You've heard me say here on the pod. It's better to make the decision a year early than a year late.
Correct, and that's true. That's very true of players as well, too.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to get rid of a player that you think may not be where he is now. Then do it when he's A, lost value, and B, lost skill. So I think, I'm with you in that analogy. It's it's the same thing for managers, and it's. But I will say, man, he pulled all the right strings in the second half. So it's like, I can't hate him on that. I just feel like he's above his skis a little bit in this role.
I don't think that's an unfair criticism, and I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth here. I think
let's do it.
I think I agree with you that I think given Martinez's history, and we talked about this when he was originally hired, is there a better manager available who can do better with his Portuguese national team? The answer is probably yes. But I think given what he's done with this national team, I just don't know where's that moment where you say it wasn't good enough. You could point to the Euro and his decisions with Ronaldo, and I don't know how much of that is Ronaldo's political sway with the federation and what, from the outside looking in, again, not knowing any ins and outs, tinfoil hat, it feels like CR7 probably has a lot of say in what happens in terms of lineup selection or being involved in that.
Hey man, he was subbed off in this past game.
But this is where I go to
88 minute.
I think that they've learned, either Martinez has learned or Ronaldo has accepted something where I think this is a turning of the corner where we would not have seen Ronaldo subbed off in a 1-goal game. In Euro, we would have seen a team maybe deferring to it, and it looked like when you talk about pulling the strings, having Conceição go in and get a goal almost immediately, that's going to make Martinez look good. And I just don't see something happening, especially with a Spain final, where it's going to be something where, unless they flat out get embarrassed, like a 7-0, something like that, maybe you can make a decision. Okay, if this is the best in the world and we want to compete with the best of the world and we just show that we can't do it, maybe you make a decision to go elsewhere. But I just don't think there's enough when you go what his record is in qualifying. I think the moment I think back to those Denmark quarterfinal matches, there were some decisions there that left you scratching your head. And I thought, well, if they don't get through against Denmark, then maybe that's your opportunity to move on from this head coach. But Martinez seems to just be doing enough to continue to be safe. And I think to me, I do think you need some type of moment that says, okay, it wasn't good enough here. I don't think you can go, advancing in a quarterfinal, advancing in a semifinal against the host country and say, okay, this guy's not good enough all of a sudden when he was good enough to get you to this point. So I just don't see a moment where, he gets let go. I know the Mourinho rumors, that's something that's been circulating for years and years. Mourinho has made it known that he wants to coach the national team at some point, and he's maybe not in the best situations in his club life. So I think maybe he's ready to make that jump. And so maybe it is something where you mentioned if you want to be the one who buys the ingredients to put it in the recipe, and maybe, the FPF is looking at this and saying, well, if Mourinho's come to us and said that it's time and I want to make my stamp and I finally bring Mourinho in, I'm the one who comes in and makes the difference in a World Cup, then maybe that's a decision that you're going to make. But I think on merit, I don't think Martinez has shown anything that he deserves to be fired.
So so you think, barring an embarrassing loss on Sunday against Spain, you think that Roberto Martinez is going to lead the team at least through World Cup qualifying?
I think even with an embarrassing loss, because I go back to Spain being one of the best teams in the world, and I'm not trying to have a defeatist attitude about this, but losing to Spain is not the worst thing in the world. We just saw France, how talented they are, and they got, for the majority of that game, got taken out to pasture for Spain. Obviously, Spain kind of let them back in the game, but we saw what one of the best teams in the world in France looked like against a strong Spain side. And I think losing against them, even then, it would take some, a big pair to let Martinez go after that. And maybe they already have, to your point, if that decision's already made, then he's going to lift, maybe Martinez can lift the Nations League trophy. And then the next day they say, thank you for getting us the Nations League. We're moving on to the next chapter. That's a level of thinking that I think from a fan perspective, you always wish for. Is, you wish for, okay, I want that kind of ambition. But I think when you're in it and you have a coach and you have a relationship and you have those wins, I think you have to be loyal to someone who delivers on those promises.
We're talking with Eric Vieira, Portuguese Hammer, right here on episode number 99 of the Seleção podcast. We're talking about the victory over Germany in the Nations League semifinals, and we're about to get into the final here versus Spain. Hey, Eric, Spain looks pretty good.
Scary, a little scary.
Yeah. Do you think Yamal is the best player in the world right now?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think every game he's in, he shines. And to me, that's the true marker. I'm someone who enjoys looking at stats and looking at XG and looking at all these things, pass percentages and pass completions and, dribbles. But to me, in terms of the eyeball test, when I see Lamine Yamal on a field, he's the center of attention in that match. And I think when it happens with Barcelona, happens with, on the Spanish national team, I think as of right now, he is the best player in the world. You could make arguments for others, but right now, at this moment, I think he is.
Yeah, and I mean at 17, I don't think we've seen someone at 17. The world hasn't seen. You and I we're way too early for Pelé when he made his debut and took over the world at 17 in the I think the 50s, 60s.
Sure, sounds right.
Sure, last century.
I think 58. I think a 58 World Cup, if my memory serves me correctly, when I was a young,
a young lad.
I was going to say young lad, but I don't know how familiar the listeners are. Maybe they do think I'm older than I look here.
No. You're a young man. You're young. Oh, by the way, coming up on a birthday, are you not?
Dia de Portugal. That's my birthday, June 10th. Yeah. So it's coming up around what better gift to give me than a Nations League victory?
Hey, Portugal, come on, do it for Eric and do it for Anthony. Shout out to the Azorian
one. Big dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we might as well say hi to Bobby too to get the group chat all taken care of.
All wrinkled. Love it.
But he is, and not Bobby. Yamal is
in some ways also true. But yes.
Also true. Yeah, great hair, both of them. But he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he is absolutely toying with top end professionals on multiple levels. in La Liga, in Champions League, now on the international stage. Obviously, he came on the scene and to everyone's eyeballs during the Euros last year, but he's so smooth
Mhm.
and so in control for a kid that young. And I mean, I remember when Mbappe came on the scene, and I thought, all right, France is going to rule the roost for years
Um,
and years. And I mean, and they're still very
I'm
much up there.
Yeah, I'm glad
But
you mentioned Mbappe because that's where we were saying I can't remember the last time. I think the last time was Mbappe, but that goes back to the conversation of longevity. I think Mbappe that World Cup year when he won the World Cup, we thought France is going to be set for years, and he is someone who's going to set the world on fire. At the time, he was playing like the best player in the world, and then we've seen that consistency hasn't been there with Yamal. We're seeing that early Mbappe, and I'll go back to Concepcion, that fearlessness where he's just unfazed. He doesn't know what pressure is. So he's just out there doing his thing. And so the question is going to be, is he going to be able to have the longevity and consistency of, someone like a CR7 or he who shall not be named in Argentina. It's going to be
good
that
man.
question.
Man.
Can he continue that form? But right now I'm with you. He's absolutely one of the best. He's the best player in the world and how smooth and how creative he is.
Yeah, I think it's funny though. It's like you look at him. Obviously, I think he's the number one player in the world right now, and obviously the Ballon d'Or is always a yearly trophy, not so much a a year and a half, 2 year thing. It should be. Who shall not be named one, a very questionable one a couple years ago, but I look at Yamal. I look at Dembele over at PSG playing for France. But I want to kind of go back to Portugal on this discussion. Are we not sure that if we win the Nations League and PSG maybe wins the FIFA Club World Cup, are we not sure that Vitinha may not be in the running for the Ballon d'Or? Not so much, not that he's going to win it or should win it, but I'm just saying I do think he's right now maybe a top 5 player in the world in terms of right now, in terms of this Ballon d'Or calendar. I would argue that he's in the conversation, at least for the discussion as to who may be one of the finalists, top 5 finalists maybe for the Ballon d'Or.
I feel like Vitinha is one of those best kept secrets that we're gatekeeping. And now I think word's out. Now everyone knows who Vitinha is and how well he could play. Obviously, those who've been following the game know the quality is. He didn't go to PSG on accident and wasn't the maestro in that midfield. But I think for the casual kind of everyday, be a household name, Vitinha is starting to kind of move in that direction when he's involved. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's in this Portuguese team that's making the final. This guy was on
this
PSG.
band's pretty good.
Yeah. And so he's kind of starting to reach that. But my controversial take, I guess, is you don't want him to be that. You want him to slide under the radar, to not be, his game is not like Yamal's in terms of taking over the game and making it about, not that Yamal makes it about himself in a negative way, but he takes over the game. Vitinha takes over the game and making other players better. And I just don't think when you're giving the Ballon d'Or, it's for the bright, shining object. That's who it's going to go to. And a player like Vitinha, as good as they're going to be, he maybe at some point, people are going to recognize that and give that the credit that it's due. But I just don't think, getting recognized from or Ballon d'Or or some of those awards, he'll make best 11s, but I don't know that he's going to be in that conversation just yet.
Whatever, Eric.
He is in our hearts. But again, maybe I'm gatekeeping here. If we lost some people with the birthday shout outs, we're going to lose them with more wrestling references here. Vitinha is like the Jacob Fatu. Everyone knows he's the best guy who can do it. But you're not going to make him the world champion just yet.
Yeah. I mean, all right, here we go. And shout out to R-Truth. Listen, I think a guy who also had a tremendous game and again, man, is a teammate both in the club and country here. I don't know if there's more superlatives I can say about Noon Minge, but
Mhm.
that kid, and he's still a kid. What is he, like 22, 3,
Yeah.
maybe?
Speaking of PSG and being best in the
Yeah,
world, he's in that conversation too.
he is unbelievable. And like, on the assist to Ronaldo, I was fully okay with him taking it on himself because I thought he had a
Mhm.
step on the defender, but then the presence of mind to look up, find Ronaldo, and I mean, technically the pass is a simple one,
Yeah.
but given the situation and given the speed in which he goes, Eric, a tremendous assist, the eventual game winner, and I think for me, it's just another a pleat in his cape that Nunez is arguably top 2-3 left backs in all of world football.
Yeah. I think if you're wingbacks right now, the way the game is being played, that's such a critical position. And I think if you're going to make an all-star team on the best team in the world, I think Minge has to be in that lineup.
Yeah. Let's talk about Spain a little bit before we get out of here. 5-1, very dominant in terms of the score line up until they gave up the 3 goals in the last 15 minutes or so. But I thought France did a good job of breaking down the Spain defense and were unlucky a couple of times. I think they may have hit the post once, maybe twice.
Twice.
Uh,
Yeah. Twice they hit the post.
They hit the post twice. Great goalkeeping by Simone, but I think the defense is there to be had if
Correct.
Portugal
Mhm.
plays a controlled game, an imaginative game, which I think having a guy like Vitinha in the middle, and I keep mentioning his name, and it's you kind of alluded to it. I don't want to put all this pressure on the kid, given that he's kind of emerging quickly here onto the football stage. Um, but I mean, a guy like him, Bruno Fernandes,
Mhm.
Bernard Silva, these are guys that are high quality midfielders, attacking players. That if you get the right combination, I think based on the France game, you can break down that Spain defense and give yourself an opportunity to not have to wait for a counterattack, which is old school Portuguese football the last few years. And I'd like to see us go back to a 2006 World Cup run where we were on the front foot, we were going at teams. I don't want Portugal to play scared, and
Mhm.
I think the defense for Spain against that the display, I guess, the defense of Spain in the France game, I guess that for me leaves an opening that I think can be had if this Portugal team wants to attack in that way. What say you?
All right. You gave me my opening. Now we can finally disagree on something here. So,
Nice.
so I think if you look at the possession that Germany had in this game, they outpossessed Portugal 55% to 45%. And Portugal was able to get plenty of looks in the counterattack and in those movements, getting in behind the defense. I think the way Spain plays, they are going to be a team that plays for possession. I don't think Portugal is going to outpossess them, but I don't
Okay.
think that's a bad thing. I think Portugal playing more of the on the counter style is going to suit this Portuguese team with the players that they have on the wing, with Minge pushing forward, with someone like Pedro Net, with his speed getting in behind the defense. I think that is something that is going to work to Portugal's advantage if they can get in. And if you have Vitinha looking for someone to break those lines, I think that's something that is going to benefit Portugal. So I don't think not conceding possession, but having Spain dominate possession is necessarily going to be a bad thing. Where it's going to be dangerous is when you have Yamal and Nico Williams crashing down against your defense. And then to me, center backs are more of the question than the outside backs is, are Ruben Diaz and Gonzalo Inacio, are they going to be up to the task of being able to figure things out? Because Yamal and Williams are going to get their opportunities. So I think it's more about the defensive questions on the Portuguese side, if they're going to be able to withstand that. Because I think when you look on the opposite end, the Spanish defense, you would Porro on the outside and Cucurella, I think Portugal has better attacking skill to get in behind them. What they bring is more very similar to what Portugal brings, is their wing backs kind of crashing forward. So I think you're going to see maybe a closer game with as dominant as Spain looked, I think Portugal is going to be able to match up well against them. But I think the counterattacking, conceding possession actually works in Portugal's favor here.
All right. Well, there was the counter. And
we got our zag.
You got your zag. Yeah, absolutely. I guess for me, it's I don't, and I agree with everything you just said. So there went my zig. But
you want to see a dominant show.
Yeah, I just don't want to see. I mean, even though Spain is going to dictate possession and dictate the game because of possession, what I don't want to see is having Portugal just kowtow to Spain's every whim, and then be the only thing that they do is counterattack. But maybe, like you mentioned, that might be the only way because of the possession Spain will have in terms of percentage in the game coming up.
You don't want to see Portugal play in a park the bus style lineup where they're going to just sit and hope that they can survive to the end. I don't think that's Martinez's style, and I don't think that the roster suits that style. So I understand what you're saying. As long as they're not doing that, I think we'll see a good game.
Eric, a prediction for Sunday, my man.
Oof, this is tough. I was looking at Portugal are winless against Spain in their last 6 games. So winning against Spain is really, really difficult, and especially given how they've played. But I'm Portuguese. Yeah, I'm not going to go against this team and be negative. I see this game. I think there's going to be goals. I think you're going to see like a 2-2 draw. And I think you see this going into extra time. I don't think it goes into penalties, though. I think someone makes the difference, and I think someone's going to come off the bench and be a hero, whether it's a Gonçalo Ramos. I think Portugal has...
Nope, Gonçalo Ramos has been released.
Is he
he's been released. Because
World Cup?
Nope. I am proud to report here. According to the record, he has been released because he and his partner are awaiting the birth of their child. So
good for him.
So mazel.
Congrats. Well, someone like
it'd be a hell of a time for him to score a goal if he's not here.
So let me switch that to dig into their. It's like João Felix, who hasn't really had his moment for the national team.
If he is the one who scores the game winner,
it's always someone like that. We're the nation of they're getting the game winner in the Euros. Like that's
and then Gonçalo Guedes against the Netherlands in the first Nations League final. Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. I think 3-2 in overtime.
My man. I'm obviously I'm ever the optimist. Hopefully, well, I'm not ever the optimist. I kind of get down everyone, but obviously I want Portugal to win. I'm gonna go ahead and say same scoreline as the semifinal for in the victory against Germany. I'm gonna say 2-1, and I'm gonna say Portugal goes up 1. And then Spain ties. That's how the 1-1 goes. Second half, the deciding goal will be scored by Bruno Fernandes. We'll do a little star treatment in terms of that. I think I mean it's so easy to say Ronaldo, but I'm
that's my favorite.
You know what? To hell with it. You know what? Ronaldo's gonna score the game winner. All right.
That's again being too obvious, too on the nose. But I think that says something about this Portuguese team, and the hope that it gives us is it's not just saying, well, Ronaldo gets the game winner and it's cut and dry that's how it's going to go down. You see the options that are there, but also it would be kind of poetic to have a 40-year-old Ronaldo be the one who, he gets up for these games against Spain. I think of the 2018 World Cup match, that 3-3 thriller. I think you're going to get the best out of CR7 in this as well. He's going to be getting after, and maybe that's the thing that makes it tricky on Portugal when he tries to do too much. So I think the drama is going to be there for sure either way.
You said that Portugal is 0-6 in their last 6 matches against Spain.
Well, winless, not 0-6.
Winless.
Okay. They have a couple draws.
Oh yeah, because the draw in the
Nations League, there's a draw and a loss. Then a couple friendlies. You have them up?
I want no, I don't have it up. I just wanted to see if I can guess the last win. And if I had to guess the last win, it was in Euro 2000 1-0 victory.
2004.
2004. Sorry, not 2000.
Yeah. That's competitive win. There's a friendly win in 2010 But we're not counting that. But again, the 2004, the Noon Gomes, I believe, came off the bench.
Absolutely. A left-footed a game that they absolutely needed because it was the third of the group matches.
They hadn't won in the group.
Yeah. So, big tips. Look at us, big brains, just huge Portuguese brains. Eric, you are invited to the Sacramento Holy Spirit Festa if you are around this weekend.
Perfect. These are my people up there in Sacramento. Shout out to the people of Newcastle, the Vieiras up there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We are going to try to do a watch party at the Festa with the podcast. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off. I'm actually from here, from as soon as I'm done recording and posting the podcast, I'm going to the hall to see if the infrastructure is there for such a big, huge show like mine.
Blockbuster. I don't know if they have the equipment. Yeah, we don't have the facilities for that big man. I think that's what they say.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might need a second power strip, but I'm not sure. But I hope we were able to do the watch party on Sunday. Would be fun to do that with a bunch of Portuguese people and hopefully see us win. So
that's as much as I enjoy the stress of not having a big crowd and getting to sit in your own home and watch the game kind of uninterrupted. There's a beauty to that, but surrounded by Portuguese people supporting Seleção, like it doesn't get better than that either. I did think to my times at RTGDS, watching World Cups there, Euros there, it's no better than that when you have that environment and that love, that feeling that goes along with it. So if you can make that happen, I think you're going to have either some really happy people or really upset people, which also makes for good pods. So either way, you're in good hands.
Let's see what happens. All right, Eric. All the best to you, man. Appreciate you making some time and enjoy your summer. And we will talk soon, bro.
We do appreciate you, Danny. Thanks for having me on. Shout out to you for all the hard work you're doing and covering this team. So again, appreciate you and wishing you and the family all the best.
Oh man, likewise. Força, buddy. And that was Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, here on episode number 99 of the Seleção podcast. Again, we're going to try to do the watch party on Sunday. Again, logistics, don't know what those are yet. We're going to figure those out here in a couple of hours, but I just want to shout out to Brandon Azevedo, who's the upcoming vice president of the Festa. Spoke with him yesterday, gave me the okay to even attempt to do something like this. So appreciate him. And we will see if we can do a watch party. If not, we'll have a recap, obviously, of the final either Sunday, maybe Monday. But just keep it tuned to the YouTube channel, to your podcasts, to social media for any and all announcements regarding this Seleção podcast. My thanks once again to Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, for joining us here on episode number 99 of the Seleção podcast, a proud partner of Portugal.net. Portugal, Spain, final Sunday. Força Portugal!